People like you, they're going to follow you. They're going to want to see you. They're going to want to meet you. And you're not ugly. You might want to get a little haircut, like maybe trim just the ends a little bit. And the nose hair, that's got to go. I'll tell you what, I still, there's a club here in town called the Rock Yard out at Fantasy Springs Resort Casino.
And they'll trim my nose hairs?
I know.
Do you know the Dave Darin Show?
It's not enough to boil a monkey's bum.
Most people say, who the fuck is Dave Darin?
Like Disneyland, I'm the happiest fucking guy on earth.
Who the fuck is Dave Darin?
Who the fuck is Dave Darin?
Are you a poof duck?
He used to be on terrestrial radio, but he got fired.
It's over. Don't you think it's over?
I'll spit.
Who the fuck is Dave Darin?
Here comes the bull spiller now.
Dave Darin.
Brad Mercer's on the Dave Darin Show. Brad, how's it going, man? We're live
I can't complain, man. I've been busy than you can imagine. It's been really hot all of a sudden. The summer's here, and it's not supposed to be yet.
By the way, here's my suntan. This is just to prove to you that you can get suntan on the East Coast. This is my Central Park suntan.
New York.
Yep. Are you from the East Coast?
No, I'm a California boy.
Oh, California all the way around. Okay, so let me introduce you. Brad, you've been doing radio for a long time, a lot longer than me. You're more tuned into the elements of failure than I'm tuned into periodically. So you got to help me out. Throw me a bone. What was that TV show or movie with Austin Powers? Throw me a friggin' bone, right?
Throw me a frickin' bone here.
Austin Powers, yeah, but he had, 3 or 4 movies, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He sure did.
Yeah, Goldmember.
Yep. I masturbated to every one of the girls that was on that movie.
Yeah, that's right. I'm doing that right now. So,
Well, let me grab some of your attention. Let me grab some of your attention away from the penis, and let's talk about. I want to talk about a few things here. One of the things I want to talk about is you do something called Fans and Bands, or Bands and Fans. Which one is it? What's the proper?
Okay,
term?
it's Brad Mercer's Bands and Fans.
Okay, cool.
And it started out. See, I've been in radio since '81. And it started out in active rock radio, which is now classic rock radio.
Uh-huh.
And I've always had a pet peeve about not being able to play the unsigned artists that are up and coming and that are every bit as good as who's out there now in mainstream radio. They call it mainstream.
Yep.
But the problem there is you can't get signed to a label unless you get airplay. You can't get airplay unless you get signed.
Wow.
You can't get signed. It's just a catch-22.
Absolutely.
So I took it upon myself as a diligent musician and feel the pain of all these musicians out there that are really, really good and deserve airplay to play their tracks, which led to getting fired. So I get fired. I guess I've been fired, I'm counting 15, maybe 16 times in the radio industry because I played somebody that wasn't signed or in the mainstream. And I thought that was just bizarre. It was just, uncalled for. I mean, if you're a great musician, you've got good music, it should be heard. So, but again, you're dealing with corporate radio. So as this went on, I got out of radio completely, got into stand-up comedy.
Empty space, no light can find an entry deep in those coral black caves. All the remnants of the memory, the ruins lie and they wait, and we cower in the safety. The ocean says I should stay. Can play with me, I'm empty. 'Cause I'm drowning in the waves and they're pulling me. I need an answer, so just say I'll be rid of me now. Oh, I'm lost, not found. I need a friend to come and save me from this misery. A second chance, find a way to deliver me now.
I cut my teeth with Jay Leno and George Carlin, Jeff Foxworthy. It was back in the 80s when comedy was really happening. I went and got managed a comedy club in Jacksonville, Florida, and I would book the guys in there that I knew, like Jay and Rita Rudner and Jeff and a lot of upcoming comics that were really, really good. And during that time, I was developing my set because I would come on and I would bring them all on. So Jay liked that. He took me on tour with him. I did a few shows with Jay, and I learned my trade that way. And because I was brought up in a showbiz family that was into comedy, I had no problem with stand-up. And then the Christopher Rude out of Jacksonville at that time had me come on as a guest. And one thing led to another. We became a morning show. And it just grew. And that happened for 12 years. I went everywhere. And decided to continue with the unsigned artists. And got fired again. So I said, that's enough. I got out of corporate radio, put together Brad Mercer's Bands and Fans, and decided to go new country. So these guys are young musicians who are cut their teeth on classic rock and put it in together with their country. And now it's almost like the new rock, in new country. So I said, I'm going to go that route. And I did. I decided I was going to play either artists or bands that were country, new country, country blues, country rock, southern rock, or even rock with a twang. I didn't care. I'd go outside the box too. But I owned the show. Kicks Hot Country here in Palm Springs loved the idea and wanted to run the show. And I thought that was great because I got two frequencies, high desert and low desert. And I put this website together, Brad Mercer's BNF.com, where they could send me their tracks. I can listen to them. If they were produced properly, mastered for the radio, and it was a good song, I would probably play it. Mm-hmm. I got a lot of bad stuff, but I got a lot of good stuff. Sure. And this happened 3 years ago, Dave. Okay. And so it became a syndicated thing on internet radio where I'm like in 140 countries. But it airs live on Saturdays from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific time. You can go to my website, click on Listen Live, and it goes right to Kicks Hot Country, the live feed. Mm-hmm. And I'm picked up, too, I think, in the UK on Mickey Spectrum's Petswood.com. He plays the show as well. And other radio stations grab if they want to play my show, they can air it anytime they want to. All they got to do is click on affiliates, and I'll give them the show for free. Mm-hmm. They just got to play my commercials.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
But it's turned out to be really cool because I've been able to see bands like the Silver Tongues, who I broke, mm-hmm. and they're now in mainstream new country radio.
got a lot of questions to ask you. So
Sure.
let me interject here. I'm curious about this. And actually, this is interesting because I've been fired by 5 stations. So like I said,
Hey, you're a veteran, buddy.
right. So like I said, you and you know, let me ask you this question. You know, a long time ago, and I've talked about radio personalities from the 70s and the 80s.
Right.
These guys were the rebels that you obviously are, and that I try to be, and hopefully I am somewhat of a rebel. But what happens is that I kind of blame the DJs or radio personalities, whatever you want to call them, for some of the downfall, because they used to be the rebels that used to push the limits, used to walk that piece of music past the program director right in there and play it. Now, you did it, you got fired. I did it, I got fired. But, you know, the interesting thing is that these radio personalities have settled, become complacent for, what, $32,000 to $34,000. What kind of fucking money is that for them to have settled and thrown in the towel and given up on their craft and their love for that tiny, you can't even pick up a good hooker in New York City on a weekly basis for that kind of money. I don't understand. I don't understand it.
Well, it's been that way ever since the beginning. You know, it's like you're catching lightning in a bottle when you're an artist. But if you're a disc jockey, you have to abide by the rules of the corporate radio station. I'm talking, I can throw that out there now, Clear Channel, Cumulus, J-Core, back when I was in there. And then there's the independent stations that are owned independently, and they're called mom and pop stations. Now, that's a better way to go, because they own the stations, they can do what they want to do. And if they believe in you,
it's lower
what's that?
It's lower power, though. So that's one of the things you have to, because I've been on some of those lower power. In fact, they call them KWSS-LP for low power. So that means if you're a break-in radio personality, which, like I said, I only started this like 5 or 6 years ago. I started on one of those independently owned stations that during the day they can be 50,000 watts. Now I'm talking about AM stations. I started in AM. Nighttime they got to crank the signal down. And then you get on some of the FM stations that are still low power because they bought the frequency and they have limitations or FCC rules. So that's tricky. Maybe college radio is more powered than some of the independent stations. But I don't do terrestrial radio anymore, and I don't pretend that I'm ever going to do terrestrial radio anymore anyway. I've thrown in the towel because, to be honest with you, when I did terrestrial radio, I didn't even listen to the station that I was on because it was so boring and so controlled. And they control the DJs as well. Obviously, a DJ could not even go out to a venue to extract that talent because, first of all, they're probably not allowed in there from the radio personality perspective. And how dare them attempt to interview those people that are performing on stage, let alone take that piece of music and bring it to the station and play it. So,
well, okay, you said it. Terrestrial radio. It's now internet radio, and that's the future of radio. Believe me, it is. Nothing's gonna change that. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I got more listeners on internet radio than I ever could on terrestrial radio because you have guidelines that you have to. Now, I'm not saying Kicks Hot Country is giving me a lot of leeway, and I still have to watch what I play, because I am on FM radio, but I'm on more internet radio stations than anywhere else. If I were to go satellite, that's a different story. But then you fall into a corporate thing.
You do.
I mean, ask Howard. I mean, he'll go off on it. But it's all in what you believe in. And I've got a station that believes in what I do, and they let me play. I play all indie artists. I play 2 hours of the best indie artists I can find, and I will put them in rotation if I feel they're worthy of it. But once they move to that next level, then there's so many more artists out there. Godspeed to them. Let them go now. They're really putting their time and their effort into it.
Hi, we're Viridian. We're a band from Berkshire. We've been playing at the same pub now for 10 years, and we just want to move on to bigger and better things.
You hear me talking to demons. Hey, you said it's pathetic, just wait till you meet them. You won't like what you see then. When the morning comes to shed some light on the things we've done in the dark of night. So wrong,
saw the open auditions, I spoke to my auntie about it, and she said we should really go for it. We're tired of doing normal jobs like normal people. This is our chance. I think we could change the world.
The radio! I've never tried this. Even the purest man on earth have a couple of vices. Why do you count my knees? I'm not attracted to playing safe. I'd sooner take it too far and lose my way. Wrong, never felt so right. Caught in the headlights, so we run a little faster, fight a little harder. So you know it's not right. Forget when you know I can't lie. Find a spark in my eye. Watch me where I burn out. Run a little faster, fight a little harder. Back till we're out of sight. Kicking out his bike. Excuse me while I fight through tonight. Caught in the headlights, so we run a little faster, fight a little harder. Stop, you know it's not right. Forget when you know I can't lie. Fight a spark in my eye. Watch me where I burn. Run a little faster, fight a little harder. We're burning till we're out of sight. Kicking out this bike. Excuse me while I fight through tonight. Caught in the headlights, so we run a little faster, fight a little harder. So you know it's not right. Forget when you know I can't lie. Find a spark in my eye. Watch me where I burn out. Run a little faster, fight a little harder. Back till we're out of sight. Kicking out his bike. Excuse me while I fight through tonight.
Now, another thing, Dave, you know, when an artist goes in and records a CD, okay, they can't stop there. They think that because they got this great record, that automatically it's going to be played on radio. That isn't how it works. You've got to promote that thing. You've got to get out there and promote your live show, your EP, as it is now, not a full CD, but an EP. And you have to put some money into that. You can't just think that the radio stations and the jocks are going to do it for you. You know, you're not the Beatles anymore. You know, and with all due respect to John, George, Ringo, and Paul, they'll tell you they didn't just fall off the turnip truck. They had to pay their dues. Everybody pays their dues, but they caught lightning in a bottle, and the timing was right.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. I'm curious about this. I have mostly focused on rock music.
Right.
And actually, I did an interesting study, and maybe you read this or heard that I did this. I actually got on Twitter, and I researched 20 rock bands that had like 100,000 followers or more.
Right.
And I also went to the country music genre, and I found the same 20 bands, 100,000 followers or more. And what I did is I followed them, the 20 in each genre. So I followed the 40 of them. And I also private directed messaged them and asked them if they would come on the show. The rock bands, I will tell you, maybe some of it is the support system, the unity and the structure that they follow. And you clicked on a niche that maybe is working better for you than my rock format has been working for me. But what I intend to say is that when I had those 20 rock bands, and I communicated and followed them and asked them to come on the show, I had 2 of the 20 follow me back. And I had none of them contact me to get on the show. I did this with the country bands, and 17 of them, of the 20, followed me back, and 12 of them asked to come on the show. So there's a difference perhaps in genres between rock and country rock, and I know that there is this country melded with rock because I've been focusing a little bit of the show on those types of genres. So is that one of the messages that's out there, is that and I criticize rock bands a lot in the fact that, for instance, the 100,000 followers of the Twitter, if you look at who they follow back and throw back their support to the fans of like a dozen out of 100,000. Now, granted, at that level, maybe they've got a manager behind them, so you can blame the management who manages their social media. But there is still some responsibility that if you own the brand of who you are as the musician and the band, don't you want to throw back to some of your fans the support back because they brought you to that level? So what is missing there between the rock genre and the country rock and the mix of genres that you do with country behind it? What am I missing that you've captured?
Okay, here's the deal. You're an artist. You've got ego and you've got talent. You can't let the ego outweigh the talent. You see, it's good to have both. You got to have that to keep it going.
Yep.
But that's where you get into trouble when you think that you're the next sliced bread. You can't let the ego outweigh the talent. You got to keep out there. You got to keep pushing, because there's going to be someone out there that's just these egomaniacs that think they know it all and will step on you to get where they want to go. I mean, labels were that way. A record label now, that's why they're all indie labels, because your majors now, they put a lot of money into a new artist. And a lot of them are discriminating against age. There's guys like me. I started out in the music business. I was on the road when I got out of high school. I played every state in the union. I recorded 6 major albums. I just released my first song in 30 years because I got fed up with everything.
Wow.
See?
Wow.
And you catch lightning in a bottle. You gotta stay there. You gotta keep going, because it's the hardest business in the world. It's the most unstable business in the world. Yet it's the most rewarding if you make it.
Let me ask you this. You mentioned terrestrial radio, and now you do online radio. I've dabbled in online radio, probably to a lesser degree than obviously you've had, with less success than you've had, because perhaps you've latched on to the right people who have the right online stations. This is what I see in online stations. I've gotten on some stations, and I can't get the ratings for them to give me to massage my program to bring up the ratings. And also there are so many online stations. To find that one station that people dig enough to repeatedly patronize and go to is difficult. And to find a station that's got the really good radio personalities that are just not the guy thinking, I'm doing it for a hobby. If I fuck it up, so be it. It's not my main gig. How do you find the proper online stations with the really good DJs that actually do have ratings in this format that has millions of these possibilities to listen to? How do you find that needle in a haystack? How do people find this?
Okay, here's the deal. They find you. And like you say, there's not a lot of again, jocks, on-air personalities, and that's it. There's a jock, and then there's personalities.
Yeah.
I come out of the fold of a personality because I've been out there. I've been where they are. I've been the musician. I understand what they're going through. And when I do my show every week and I throw it out there, I get contacted by other online radio stations. Now, here's another deal. I also believe in the indie artists getting paid for their music being played.
Good.
That's been the bitch through this whole thing. I mean, here I am. I'm putting out a song. I get airplay, but I'm not getting a fucking dime for it. You know, I believe that the artist needs to be paid. So a lot of online stations, the ones that survive, are the ones that pay ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, that fee to where they can pay the artists. My radio station here, Kicks Hot Country, they're a reporting station. See, so there's the difference. Any internet station now that doesn't pay those fees, they're going to drop out. They're just going to drop off the end of the world.
And maybe they should.
That's right. I believe that. I believe that. There's so many artists out there now that need to be compensated for their great talent and their great music.
Right.
I'm just all for that. I just think that it's the greatest thing. For music will always be around. It's the universal language. It speaks. There's no holds barred. Now, I'm in country radio, so I got to watch what I play. See, because it's FM. But I'd rather do that than just go internet radio. Okay. See, at least I've got an FM station that will play their music if it's good.
I woke up to a misty morning buzz, 'cause we got drunk, a little drunker than we should. So fire it up and let it run. Get you chasing down that morning sun, shaking off last night just 'cause it feels right. Getting ready to get it done. We're just a bunch of outlaws, riding dirty on a Friday night, looking for some alcohol and doing just what we like. Yeah, we're living for the night. I couldn't make this up if I tried. We're outlaws. I wouldn't trade it for another life. Oh, light it up, burn it down, running these streets like we own this town. Turn it up on a Friday night. Outlaw life never felt so right tonight. Light it up, burn it down, running these streets like we own this town. Turn it up on a Friday night. Outlaw life never felt so right tonight.
About promoting and et cetera. Now, let me ask you this. Okay, so I'm on an online station, which I'm no longer on online stations. Maybe I'll pursue it again based upon some of the things I'm getting from you on the concept. But so I have a band come on the show. When I used to live in Phoenix, I used to do a show on FM radio. And the band would come on the show and they would promote it. And I got to say, they would promote it marginally, maybe because it was LP, low power, and maybe that was why. Or maybe I was focusing on the wrong bands who had the wrong energy and not enough energy to be promoting themselves and the fact that they were on my radio show. So here's what I found out. I would talk to the bands and I would say, you guys, if you promoted the show when you're on it, if you promoted it the next 2 weeks down the line, when you knew your fellow bandmates that were playing on a stage that you played on during the week I had you on the show, maybe it would bring up the population of listeners based upon everyone promoting and just not me promoting. If everyone threw in their lending hand, it might stir up the energy, create a buzz, and make things work better for all of us. This is what I found out that a lot of them said. They said, just like they say with the venues, that the venues don't promote them enough and that they have the sole responsibility of promoting their gig at that venue. So they look at me as the same enemy that the venues are. They look at me and they think that I'm the big radio personality that's got the highway billboard out there to promote my show. They're on it. So what I get from them is they say, Dave, we are giving you our talents. We are giving you our time. We are giving you the musical notes and the lyrics. Dave, it is your responsibility to promote the show and not us. How do you get over that hurdle?
Okay. You've got to compensate together. You've got to work together on this. Yeah, that's true. The DJ, if he likes an artist, he's going to play it. But you have to promote yourself as well. You have to go, you got to play live. You've got to, how do I put this without sounding like an asshole? You can
sound like an asshole because I usually do. So if you do, you'd work well with me on the show here. So
But my whole thing, I've made a name for myself for not really being an asshole. I work with them, but if if you're an asshole, I drop you. I just won't. I don't tolerate that when there's other artists out there that are really working hard to get play, and they're promoting their stuff. I will help them any way I can. What I can do is give them airplay. That's all I can do. But you've got to work together on it, and you've got to be able to, if you're going to spend the money to do a CD, spend some money to promote it as well. If I'm going to promote my show, and I want to go even further than that to get way out there, I'm going to put billboards up. Brad Mercer's Bands and Fans heard, every week on Kicks Hot Country, 96.3 High Desert, 92.1 Low Desert. Bam. I paid for that. I'm promoting my show. So the artist needs to promote their show and their record. They can't depend on a record label to do it. If you're a young artist, they're going to put in a lot of money, but don't you think you're going to make any money? That label's going to make all that money back before you even see a cent. Unless you're on tour, that's where you make your money. Right. And that kind of sucks, you know.
Starting from right now, from the moment that you started this freaking video.
The creamiest, dreamiest, soft ice cream you get from Mr. Softy.
It's the Dave Darin Show.
Hey, buddy, try it on.
Brought to you by our very cool sponsor,
Cool air feels good.
Rock Solid Talent Entertainment, the cutting edge of entertainment, bringing you bands, radio, and live streams into the 21st century.
Everyone's gonna want to hang out with me. Woohoo! Yeah!
Hang my hopes on a lasso. On a homemade lasso.
How do you make sure that you are getting the promotion from these bands that are on your show to support your efforts and your show? Do you worry about that? Do you police it at all? Do you
I don't worry about it, but hey, Twitter, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Twitter always promotes. I don't have to do a thing. Artists are promoting me, and I'll retweet it. But I've got other things going on. I mean, I've got it all tied into my phone here. When somebody tweets about me, bam, it goes off. Right. And I can say, oh, okay, so and I'll retweet it. Once in a while, I'll put a tweet out there. I'm not like I don't sit on it like Donald Trump does in the Oval Office and tweet every night. If I did, I don't know, maybe it would help. But I don't have time to do that crap.
Right. Let me ask you this question. We spoke about the bands, and here's something that I've maybe understood, or maybe I've misunderstood it. Back in the 70s and 80s, I used to play in a band, by the way, too, in the 70s and the 80s. I made my livelihood out of it for about 10 years.
Yeah.
And then I kind of stopped, and I never went back to it, and here I am pursuing something that's even maybe harder, which is radio. So let me ask you this. How do we make music from the perspective of the music sales more profitable for these bands? Now, I'm going to ask you this question from this perspective. Way back there was Napster. Napster was almost like, now you have a show called Bands and Fans, right?
Right.
Okay, so now let me ask you this. The fans, in my opinion, back at the Napster times, damaged the music business initially because you had the fans of mainstream music taking music that they did not own. Maybe they owned the one purchase of that CD, and then they're out there on Napster sharing the material. And then someone else gets that material that they never paid a dime for, and they share it. It became a domino effect. So Napster, I believe, was the initial damaging point in the sale of music.
It was, and they were only after money, period.
Right, exactly. So now let me say this, that I believe at that point, the fans of mainstream music damaged music initially. And I think Metallica was one of the bands that was very outspoken about it. I might be wrong, but I think they might.
They're great. The Metallica, good friends.
Okay.
Lars is just an amazing guy. And we can talk about that later, but they were amazing band.
Absolutely. So now that was Napster. Now I would say, and this is my opinion, and may not be yours. You can tell me if it's not, by the way, because I'm curious about this. But now I see a lot of bands, especially a lot of the independent bands. Now maybe more rock than country. Maybe country because they seem to have a more sound business model than maybe some of the rock bands do. And we can talk about that too. But I see a lot of the rock bands going on to Reverb Nation and SoundCloud and just bombarding their entire catalog of material in hopes that that one guy that is going to be their saving grace is out there listening to all the music, and they happen to trickle upon these guys, and they make their egos soar and their pocketbooks soar because now they're making some of the big money. So they bombard SoundCloud and Reverb Nation with all of this material that's free, and then what hopes do they have to turn it around and make it a profitable business model?
That's the chance you got to take. Unfortunately, that's the way it is, and no one's going to change that. My advice is to become a writer and record your music. Set yourself up with BMI, ASCAP, whatever. BMI. I'm a BMI writer, and which, by the way, if you go to BMI and you click on live, if you're performing any of your songs live in a place that reports to BMI, ASCAP, CSAC, anything like that, and you do your own music, log it. You get paid for it. It's a great way to go. But I would have your catalog out there so that they can say, hey, I like this for this TV show, or this for this movie, or this soundtrack. Bam, bam, bam. License your stuff. Don't go out there trying to be the next Brad Paisley or Jimi Hendrix. You can't do that. License your music. Someone's going to pick it up if they like it, if it's good enough, and you're going to make more money doing that than you will. Why go out on the road and bust your balls? To hopefully to be able to do this. I don't get it either. All I know is that you can sell your music and make just as much money having somebody else do your stuff. Someone's going to hear it and say, hey, I want to do that song. That's what publishing companies are all about.
So is your secret words out there is to maintain the Reverb Nation and the SoundCloud of all of the material, or the majority of the material? Don't worry about doing teasers, because if you license it through BMI and ASCAP, you will get paid for those music materials that are out there for free and for extraction for free. So is that a solution to it?
I think the solution is they're not going to pay you for, if it's not going to be played. But if you need to register it, you need to copyright it, and roll the dice. If you're really interested in wanting to do something, get a good music law attorney. Unfortunately, that's where legal comes in. You got to know what your boundaries are, what you can, what you can't do. It's because everybody likes to sue. You can sue anybody over anything. And I got one guy right now saying that I stole a guitar from him back in 1980 in Atlanta. I don't even know this guy, But you're a personality, and you're out there. And I've been, like I said, I've been doing it a long time. So my name is out there, and what I say on the radio, a lot of people take as gospel. So I really gotta watch what I say, because they take it as, well, Brad Mercer said that, it must be true. Well, that's not the way it works. I mean, if you say something, you're a personality. You believe in something, they're going to follow you. Well, he said this, he said that, and that's wrong. I'm going to sue him. You got to watch it.
mentioned touring a little bit. Now, a lot of bands that come on my show, again, mostly focused on the rock genre. Right. They tell me that the way that they make the majority of their money, now they haven't probably taken the Reverb Nation and the SoundCloud and licensed their music to recur some of that possible money that they can make by it being played on legitimate radio that is licensed to pay these guys, right?
Right, because they got a number on their song. It's attached to the file.
That's right, absolutely. So that's a clue to give to the audience that's listening to the rock format of my typical show, to throw them a little hand-me-out of what could possibly help. But a lot of the bands that come on my show, they tell me that the only way that they make ends meet, the only way is to be out there on tour, because when they're on tour, they get to sell their merchandise. So they are so tied into success of their formula, which their formula is potentially flawed, that they think the only way they make their money is to be out there playing, sell their merchandise, and then that puts the pressure on them to actually be traveling at distances, because if they're traveling within a confined Phoenix metro area of 40 miles, because the only metro area outside of that is 90 miles to Tucson or LA or Vegas. So they're clustered in this one area where they're not fresh enough. So if they're making the pressures of being financially solvent to be touring, they've got to leave Phoenix, and that puts the pressure on them to make that tour financially feasible. So is touring the only way, from your perspective, that you see success, or are you talking about other success models with licensing the music and they're missing that formula part?
Okay. Touring is really good, especially if you're young enough to get out there and you can absorb the pressure. And I did it for years. I know. I've got a club here that I help bands that come through. I'll put them in a club here and play their music. Now, like I say, it's got to be country rock, country blues, southern rock, or whatever. But I do that for bands when they come through here. Now in Phoenix, there's a guy that you probably know him, Paul Gervitz. Have you heard of him?
Yeah, I heard of him.
And the Army, yeah. Paul's been everywhere. He's done everything. He's had hits back in the 70s. He was with the band Gun. Ginger Baker was his drummer for a long, long time. He's done so many things. He's now an indie artist, and he released a country rock album, which I play. I play several songs off of it. But when Paul's out, Paul's got to go and tour to make money. And he just finished Vegas. I'm going to try to get him to come out here and play one of my clubs. But you have to, you got to look at everything. If you're going to make money, license your stuff. Really get it out there. But yeah, you got to tour, you got to promote it. Especially if you're a new artist. You can't just sit there on your ass and hope that the radio stations will play your song. Unless that song's got a hook that you can't help but go to bed at night and you wake up in the morning humming that hook. That's the dream of every artist. Hey, if this was easy, if this business was easy, everybody would be doing it.
Yeah.
But it's not, man. It's tough.
Oh, it sure is. It sure is. By the way, I know that you won the. Were you at the Producer's Choice Award this past LA? Because I was there. I didn't happen to see if you were there.
I think I've got some awards. My wife puts all my awards on the wall. I don't even. It's been. I've never gotten an award until I turned 60. And then all of a sudden, I got I got Producer's Choice Award. I got one for Best Rock Radio DJ. Back in 2012, maybe it was, something like that, and an actual star,
Oh, wow. Is that right? So you're out there. You're out there in front of the Chinese theater.
Well, that's what they wanted to do, but then they wanted me to pay $25,000 for it, and I give me the plaque. I'll take the plaque and put it on the wall. I don't care about that. I don't care about people stepping on me.
Right.
I really don't. I appreciate the awards, I really do, and I got the Lifetime Achievement Award, the Alan Freed Lifetime Achievement Award.
Oh, wow.
I think I got one for comedy.
Yeah, wow.
It's on the wall.
One of the benefits of not having a little star in front of the Chinese theater out there in LA is I went there with my wife because I was at the award show this past year. I brought our dog there with us. And our dog peed on Milton Berle. I felt really. At least she should have peed on maybe. I don't know who would be a good person for her to pee on. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe Don Rickles.
Don Rickles would have appreciated it.
I love Don. I mean, Don was a good friend of mine, and I had a song out in 1976 called "Don Rickles for President." And Don loved it. He had me come to Vegas to be acknowledged for it. And then here's a real quick story. He wanted me to do the Tonight Show with him because he was guest hosting for Johnny. And he says, "Yeah, you got to come on and do the show. You got to do this. It's a great song." So I'm all charged up. This is my big deal. Now, indie artists, listen to this. My career has always been a day late and a dollar short when I was out performing. Don gets me on the show. I'm sitting in the green room. I'm getting ready to go on, and I get bumped.
Oh, and I knew you were going to say that. I knew it.
It happens. Don says, "Brad, don't worry about it. We'll do it tomorrow." So I said, okay. So I go back. I'm living in Burbank at the time. So I'm out at the pool. I'm kind of stretching. I get a call. Didn't have cell phones at that time, so I get a call. My wife says, "You got a call. It's from Joe Scandori. It's Don Rickles' manager." Oh, great. So I go and I go, hey, Joe, how are you doing? He says, "This is how the call went. Brad, it's Joe Scandori. Rickles is going to start shooting CPO Sharky tomorrow. Carson's coming back. You're out. Click."
Oh, that quick, too. Just a sentence without your feedback, click.
You can't take it personal.
Yeah, that's true.
If God wanted me to have that show, it would have happened. But if it did, I probably would be dead today.
Do you think the ego would have surpassed your why would you have been dead?
I have an addictive personality.
I do too.
I'll tell you this right now, I'm 22 years clean and sober now. And it took me down because I was on the verge of breaking out. And the drugs and alcohol just fucked it up.
Wow.
And it was me.
Yeah.
And when you're a personality and you're high profile morning show in Atlanta, Georgia, on 96 Rock, we were the shit. And we were on our way to take over the morning show at KLOS in Los Angeles.
I know the station, right?
Okay. This is 1987. All right. We were hired in the interim, and then all of a sudden, the guy that hired us died, and Mark and Brian came in, and all of their entourage. All right. We were booted out of there. We went to Fresno. They flew us back to Birmingham to take over Mark and Brian's seat. And we're sitting there, they're offering us all this money, all of the limos, the steaks, the lobsters, the high-profile 5-star hotels, begging us to take the job. Chris and I get back on the airplane to fly back to absorb all of this. We look at each other and we're just laughing. You know, God, the money was insane. A 3-year contract right off the bat. But you know, when we wake up in the morning, we're going to be in fucking Birmingham, Alabama. Right. We wanted California. So we ended up taking a job in Fresno, which we owned Fresno for 3 years, and I'm glad we did that. Mm-hmm. And then went from there to Atlanta. But as you're growing, you know, you're partying, it's the tequila, it's the coke, it's the pot, it's everything, you're partying. You know, your body can only take so much. And then, you know, you lose all prospect of what it's all about. And, you know, I totally collapsed. I totally lost everything. Wow. Everything. And so I had to start over again.
Yeah.
Totally.
Wow.
Now I've got a rock record out now.
Oh, you do? Okay.
And it's it's called Drain the Swamp, and it has nothing really to do with, you know, the president or anything right now, but it's what he said, drain the swamp, let's make America great again. I'm up there jamming with this band. We were tracking. I had it mastered. We released it, and in a week's time, I had 30,000 hits on the video.
Hearing all this talk, they say they're gonna change the Constitution. Walking knee deep in all the lies and confusion. Congress on the Hill, wondering what they're gonna do. Doesn't make a lot of sense if only someone knew how to change the thinking of a power
so I've got that licensed.
Mm-hmm. So you're following your own formula there to make sure you've licensed the material that you've got out there. So it's a formula you're following.
I'm not playing my own shit, which I used to do back in the 80s, and you know, you get fired for that.
Right,
you know.
right. So I'll tell you what, Brad, it is tremendous having you on the show. I appreciate you sharing your insights with me because clearly I need the better insights. So what words of wisdom do you have for me personally? I'm curious. What can you tell me? First of all, have you listened to my show at all? And if you haven't, that's cool. I'm curious. Have you listened at all?
I have spot listened.
Spot listened.
You know,
okay.
I don't have a lot of time. I'm getting ready to direct another film. And I've got to concentrate on that, and I got the radio show. You got to go out and get sponsors. You know, there's so many things you got to do. But I will tune in and listen to you.
Okay, I'm curious about this though, from the perspective of you see on my Skype it says Phoenix. I moved physically to New York City for a reason. One thing is I have my day gig, and it carried me to New York City, which was kind of fortunate. But I consider being with my hideously ugly face in New York City to be in front of people, in front of the fans. Is it important for a radio personality these days to be out physically with my face in public? Or should I more worry about the online perspective of a career of branding myself? What's more important, or are they both equally important?
Look, do what you believe in.
Okay.
You know, because you're going to be, you know, when people like you, they're going to follow you. They're going to want to see you. They're going to want to meet you, and you're not ugly. You're you might want to get a little haircut. Like maybe trim just the ends a little bit.
Okay, I'll do that.
And the nose hair, that's got to go.
Yeah, but, I have an allergy. I can't trim the nose hairs because of the allergy. When I trim them, I start sneezing.
Look, I'll tell you what. I still there's a club here in town called the Rock Yard out at Fantasy Springs Resort Casino.
And they'll trim my nose hairs?
I know. I hosted that for years, and all the tribute bands and a lot of the rock bands that open for them and stuff. You know, I still go out there. People remember me from back then. They still come up and they say they listen to they like the show, even though it's country. You know, because they like me, and I'm not an asshole to them. If you're an asshole to them, they're not going to like you. You know, why do that? Why be an asshole? You know, I found out a long time ago not to be an asshole and help people. You know, as long as you're helping them, I'm doing my job. But if they're an asshole, I'm not going to help them. As simple as that.
Yeah.
Believe in yourself. Believe in what you're doing, and go out and promote yourself. You know, promote your show.
Yeah.
You know,
Brad,
I'll talk about you.
Well, thanks so much, Brad. You know, I really appreciate the fact that you came on the show here because obviously you got a lot of years of great entertainment and you gave back to me. Now, I'm curious about this too. I've had some mainstream bands that I've talked to. I haven't yet had a chance to get them on the show, but in my attempts to get them on the show, which sometimes I think if I have a mainstream band somewhere sliced in the middle, I can convince mainstream listeners to listen to that mainstream artist and pull in attention to the bands working their way up to become mainstream, seduce the fans that want to hear the mainstream guys into listening to some of the newer bands. So is that a good formula, do you think, that would work for my rock genre, is to get a little slice of mainstream mixed in there? Is that a good formula, or do you think I'd be selling out?
Yeah, I do that. I do
okay.
that. Yeah, and I'll do that. I'll play some Joe Walsh, too, on my show. You know, Joe's going to come into town. And go see these people. And you know, I got some, you'll appreciate this. Hang on here. Where is it here? Okay. You know, here's a buddy of mine.
Alice. Yeah, absolutely. He's in Phoenix. I should hook up with that guy when I'm in Phoenix, right?
And I've got another picture that was 10 years ago, next to this one, you know. And it's funny how you grow. And whenever these guys come into town, they'll call you and say, "Hey, you want to play golf?" You know. And my whole office is set up that way. My wife did it. She put all the pictures up, but it's from promoting myself.
Right.
You know, and and all these artists have something to say. to the indie artists, and that's what helps them. But again, man, promote yourself.
Yeah.
Really do that. I'll do what I can. I'll do my job.
Yeah.
For such a long time I've been looking from a distance. Just say the word, I'll be there in an instant. You're the prettiest thing I ever see. I wanna be the man on your seat. I know you're with him, but I still think I stand a chance. It's only last week, I know I got a second glance. It's so hard trying to act so cool. I got everything I need, but I ain't got you. My mama says I gotta be sensible, but this fatal attraction is supernatural. Just say the word when you get single. You know I'll be there when you get single. Counting the days till you get single. You know I'll be there when you get single. My mama says I gotta be sensible, but this fatal attraction is supernatural. Just say the word when you get single. You know I'll be there when you get single. Counting the days till you get single. You know I'll be there when you get single. I'll be there in a heartbeat when you get single. You know I'll be waiting when you get single. Get single, baby.
Here's a perspective and a troublesome feature of my building of my brand that I have to worry about all the time. I'm one of the guys that I have a lot of musicians as well, especially bands that are not mainstream yet. They've got their day gigs and then they've got their music gigs on the weekend or in the evenings. That
Yeah.
complicates the hell out of my availability to really promote myself. It makes it really tough. So,
Right.
So in other words, I continue to be successful in living a life based upon having a safety net out there to be able to bring me food into my mouth and car insurance for my car when I drive. So, should I drop the safety net and take a risk? Is that something that you would recommend?
There's a risk in this business completely. By the way, I'm filming you so I can show everybody what you look like.
Okay, all right. Oh my
Yeah.
God, you're going to get a lot of less viewers. Don't damage your brand by showing my face.
Dave Darin right there. There he is.
There he is.
Okay, I'm going to shut it off. To answer your question, I've always taken risks.
It's a major
and
risk.
you learn from them.
Uh-huh.
You may want to do just a little bit. Go outside the box a little. And that's what I do. But never sacrifice what you're about. And what you believe in.
Yeah.
And because it's like politics, man. You're either going to do politics or you're not.
But it's so tough because the bands that come on my show tell me this. They tell me that, man, they got to get to their day gig on Monday after a weekend of tremendous energy in the shows. I've got to go to my day gig on Monday morning after I've interviewed. Bad Company was on my show not that long ago.
Paul's a really cool guy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So it was really extremely cool. And the energy I get from the weekend gig, when I go to work, I'm just almost not there anymore. And I want to take the risk. The bands want to take the risk, but then the statistics are so mind-boggling that it's almost like it's the catch-22. You've got to take that maximum risk of what your personality brings you into, but it's so tough to do that.
What do you believe in? That's what it boils down to.
Wow. Wow.
Who are you? Who?
Right. That'd be great to have those guys on, wouldn't it? Wow.
Yeah, they're amazing. Well, everybody, they were all out here at Coachella, last year. I mean, every one of them. The Stones, McCartney, Dylan, The Who. It was great.
Yeah. Well, Brad, I'll tell you, it was great also having you on the show. I appreciate the love you gave me for being on the show because obviously you're someone that's to a degree that I wish I was somewhere even close to where you are. So I appreciate you so much coming on the show, sharing your insights, sharing your talents, sharing the perspective of your music career for the bands that listen to my show. Great having you on, man.
Well, I'll tell you what, if, anytime you want to know anything more about me, I have a hub. It's bradmercerlive.tv.
Cool.
And that goes to all of their websites.
Okay, and actually tell me about, you have a radio gig going on as well as the TV video gig going on. So did you give us all the promotional aspects of how to connect with you, or do you like to be more responsive on Twitter? Are you more a Facebook guy? Give us the ways to personally contact you.
Okay. The best way, of course, Facebook, if you go to Brad Mercer's Bands and Fans, or just Brad Mercer, I'm out there. You can only friend so many people. I put up promos all the time. BradMercerLive.tv is really the hub. You can go, if you want to send me music, Brad Mercer's BNF.com. And just click on submit your song and fill out the instructions, send me a WAV file, and we'll just go from there. It's all there. Like I say, everything is connected to BradMercerLive.tv.
Excellent. Brad, again, thanks so much for being in the show and sharing the wealth of knowledge that you've got. It's tremendous having you on. Thanks so much, man.
Take care, Dave.
Okay, you too, man. Ciao.
Peace.
Hey, thanks for hanging out. We officially have more than double the amount of people in the crowd as we do on stage, so that's a success. It's good to be back at the Rockwood. And my friends Jason and Aaron, kick it ass. We didn't rehearse or anything, they just learned the songs we were playing. My friend Greg Marigus on a 2-day tour. We were in Boston last night, New York today, and head back to Point South, Pennsylvania. So, thanks for listening. This is called The Buddha's Belly, co-written by my lovely wife, Miss Beth Leonard. She wrote the phrase that pays, and it goes like this.
Everybody wants to rub the Buddha's belly, but nobody's scratching the Buddha's back. You're pushing all your luck, you can never get enough. So come on now and give that boy some slack. Everybody wants to live a good life, but no one's sweeping up the mess. You hurt the ones you love, and then you blame the Lord above. You're putting the big man's patience to the test. Oh, shake, shake, shake. The things you do are so obscene. Bake, bake, pressure of the